Last lesson for this unit. We are looking at unit conversion. Fits in well with our big idea in that often when we find the perimeter of a polygon, the area of a rectangle, or the volume of a rectangular prism, you may need to show those units in a different way. So if you found the volume of your rectangular prism in centimeters, they may want it in millimeters, and this happens all the time on the Alberta Provincial Achievement Exams. They will often ask for your answer in a different unit than what the question was originally in. So we're going to provide some practice for that so that you're prepared. So we are going to relate the units of meters, millimeters, centimeters together. This is a review of your grade 5 work, but it again is something that is often forgotten and becomes extremely important in the provincial achievement exams, wanting you to be prepared for those so you don't miss that part of it and get confused by that. Want it to be a true understanding of what you know rather than just a mistake based on not realizing that the units have changed. So we are going to look at unit conversion today. All right, there's two real ways to look at unit conversion, and of course I will show you both and you pick whichever one you prefer. First way, and this tends to be my preference, is the rhyme. Okay, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So we have kilometers, kiloliters, kilograms. Remember, it can be for grams, liters, or meters, as you remember back to your grade 5 work. So we have kilograms, kilometers, kiloliters. Next we have hectometers, hectoliters, hectograms. Some of these we don't use very often, like hecta and deca. Next we have decameters, decaliters, decagrams, any one of them. And then we have meters, which we consider our unit, because if we were changing this to grams, it would be grams here. If we were changing this to liters, it would be liters here. So any one of them, the unit one goes right in the middle there. And then we have decimeters, deciliters, decigrams. Then we have centimeters, centiliters, centigrams, and last we have millimeters, milliliters, milligrams. Okay, so that rhyme or that set of different units can help you to determine what you would change your unit into. So let's look at an example here. If I have 3 meters and I want to change it to centimeters, I am going from meters to centimeters to the right. So if I have 3, my decimal is actually after the 3. I just don't write it. I'm now moving it 2 places to the right. This is now where my new decimal is. I'm filling this in with zeros. That means 3 meters is equal to 300 centimeters. Okay. If you want to use the other strategy, which is knowing the known units, knowing how they relate, if you can memorize that 1 meter has 100 centimeters in it, you can figure this out that way. If I know 3 meters have, and 1 meter has 100 centimeters in it, 3 meters is going to have 300, 100 plus 100 plus 100, making it 300. Either way is just fine. That's using our known units to help us figure that out. So that's our two different strategies. Understanding how those units relate or using the rhyme or the table. Okay, let's try another one. We've got millimeters to meters. I'm sorry, meters to millimeters. And again, the direction is important. Meters to millimeters. Well, now I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 jumps to the left, to the right. Sorry, 3 jumps to the right. Again, my decimal is there, unless I have a number that has a decimal in it. I am now moving it 1, 2, 3 jumps to the right. I fill those in with zeros. 3,000 millimeters. And again, if you know that 1 centimeter has 10 millimeters and 1 meter has 100 centimeters, you can figure that out. Because 3 meters to centimeters, well, that would be 300 plus another, or not plus, multiply another 10 because there's 10 millimeters in each single one of those 300 centimeters would give you 3,000. Both ways works just fine. Kilometers to meters. You don't get a whole lot of those questions, but you might. Okay, so kilometers to meters, we're now going to be going 1, 2, 3 jumps to the right. And again, we have 4 with our decimal there. 1, 2, 3 jumps to the right. There's my new decimal. Fill these in with zeros. 4,000. So 4 kilometers is going to have 4,000 meters. And again, we know that 1 kilometer has 1,000 meters. So we can use that to help us figure it out. Now, in our practice, I didn't give you any decimal questions, so let's give ourselves a decimal question. Remember, that's how we learned about it in grade 5 with decimal questions. So let's pretend we have a decimal question to work with. Let's say we have 4.56 centimeters, and we want to find out how many meters that is. We're going the opposite direction now. What would we do? Well, let's take a look. From centimeters to meters is 1, 2 jumps now to the left. Here's my decimal. I work with my decimal in the spot in which it already is, and I said I had to go 2 jumps to the left this time, so I'm going to go 2 jumps to the left. Here's my new decimal. I have to fill this in with the 0, and I don't just write decimal 0.456. I have to put a 0 in front. So 0.0456 thousandths, no, 10,000ths of a meter is what it would be. Let's try another practice one with decimals in it. Let's go 0.4, I like 4 I guess, 3, 7, and it's going to be millimeters. And I want to find out how many meters that is. So let's take a look. From millimeters to meters is 1, 2, 3 jumps to the left. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 jumps to the left. I have to fill it with 2 zeros and I need a 0 in front. So I'm 0.1, 2, 3 zeros, 4, 3, 7. I can barely squish it in there. Let's write that again, 0.000437 meters. Now, what you might be noticing is that as my units are getting larger, my number is getting smaller. Or if my units are getting smaller, my number is getting larger. That can be one of your checks to see whether or not you've done it correctly. That's a good generalization. As my unit gets larger, my number gets smaller. As my unit gets smaller, my number gets larger. All right, you're going to press pause and you're going to practice some here. Now these all do not have decimal numbers in it, but there will be some decimal numbers in your practice. All right, so press pause and do these now. All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to write down my rhyme because that's generally how I find it is easiest to do it. But you remember, you're welcome to use whatever strategy you prefer. And I'm going to go 5 meters to centimeters. Well, meters to centimeters, 1, 2 jumps to the left. So 5, remember my decimals here, 1, 2 jumps to the left is going to make it 500 centimeters. Now, if I were using what I already know to figure this out, and I wanted you to show some kind of work, because of course I always want some evidence of what you're thinking so I can help you if you've made a mistake, I would then want you to write that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So then you've gone 5 times 100 to figure that out. Something like that would be good for your work, for just your known understanding of the relationship between those units if you're using that strategy. All right, let's try the second one, 20 millimeters to centimeters. Well, I know that there are 10 millimeters in each centimeter. So I'm going to have to divide by 10. So 20 divided by 10, which would mean 2. So there would be 2 centimeters. And that would be using the relationship, understanding of the relationship between the units, that there's 10 millimeters and 1 centimeter to help me figure that out. You could use whichever strategy you prefer. Again, looking at the next one, we have 2 kilometers and we're going to centimeters. So I'm going to use my rhyme for this one because it's a big change and I prefer that. Kilometers to hectometers, to decameters, to meters, to decimeters, to centimeters, to millimeters. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Okay, I'm good. Kilometers to centimeters, well that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps to the left. I have 2, my decimals here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps. Here's my new decimal. I cannot have 2 decimals in a number, so make sure you've moved that decimal. Don't leave it here, get rid of it there, which would leave us with 200,000 centimeters. Woo! And again, I'm going to double check. My units got smaller, so my number should have gotten bigger, which it did. Perfect. Looking at our next one, millimeters to centimeters. Again, I can use my table to help me with this. King Henry doesn't usually, which is meters, drink, decimeters, chocolate, centimeters, milk, millimeters. And I'm going from millimeters to centimeters. That's 1 jump backwards. So 600. 1 jump to the left, my decimal is here, 1 jump here, that's my new decimal, that one I get rid of. That means it's just 60 or 60 decimal 0, but you don't need that. 60 centimeters. And again, my units are getting bigger, so my number should get smaller, and it did. Next one, we have 8 meters to millimeters. Well, I know there's 100 centimeters in a meter, and there's 10 centimeters in a millimeter. So that really means 10 times 100, which is 1,000. So there's going to be 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. So 8 millimeters is going to become 8,000 millimeters. And again, my units are getting smaller, so my number should get larger, which it does. Last practice one, from centimeters to meters. I'm going to use my chart again. Kilometers, King Henry doesn't usually, which is meters, drink, chocolate, milk. And I'm going from centimeters to meters. 1, 2 to the left, 900. Here's my decimal. 1, 2 to the left. Here's my new decimal. Get rid of that one. So 9 meters. I also know that there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter, so I'm going to have to divide by 100, which would leave me with 9. Either strategy is perfectly fine. All right, as this isn't from your textbook, it's review from grade 5. You are going to do this on a sheet, and here's your page in case you've misplaced your sheet. I do expect you to show some work. So that would be either your jumps or knowing that there's 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. So I would then here divide by 10 or whatever. You do need to show that work, some kind of work to go along with it so I can help you figure out what your mistake is. Make sure that you realize that some of these already do have decimals in them. And if there's a decimal in there already, you work with a decimal where it is and move it from that position. Good luck. And as always, if you have any questions along the way, please remember to ask.